Good evening, Mr. Strovers. Can you hear us okay? Sorry, you're on mute.
There we go. Can you hear me okay?
That I can. Thanks for checking.
Thank you.
Dude, you forgot to shave.
How are you doing?
Good, man. How you doing? You doing good?
You're kind of cutting out, or my signal might be cutting out. I'm not sure which.
Yeah, I'm on Wi-Fi, so I think I'm okay, but
If that's not fixing, I don't think.
Screen shared and ready to go. Yep.
Welcome, everyone. I'm going to start the meeting. I'm not sure if Joe, our chairman, will be here, Joe Hall. We do have two of our committee members, Cam Dorian and Galen Strovers are here by Zoom. So I guess I'll preside the meeting for tonight unless Joe shows up, but we don't have a quorum. So some of the items that are on the agenda, we're going to bypass and we'll table those until our January meeting. The first item would have been the approving the minutes from the October meeting. We'll table that and let's see what else. I think that's all that we needed the committee to do. So there is an open forum. So if there's anybody here who has a question or a comment unrelated to the road bond, if you want to come up to the podium and ask that. Seeing no one, we'll move on to the regular meeting. So the first thing I will go through is I prepared a memo, kind of giving everybody an introduction into what the project is about. And I'll go through that, and at the end of it, I'll introduce Bill with Widseth, our city engineer, and he's got a presentation with the maps that you see, and we'll go through that. Once that's done, we'll give everybody a chance to come up and look at the maps and ask any questions. You can ask them of either Bill, myself, and we'll try to answer them as best we can. And then we'll reconvene to adjourn the meeting once that's done. So the first thing I would do is just let everyone know, and you probably are aware, the roads that are included in the bond. We're looking at repaving Sumac Trail, East Roy Lake Road, Edna Lake Road, Edna Lane, Hole in the Day Drive, Candor Court, Lendee Drive, Old Government Trail, Parkway Drive, Polk Road, Roy Lane, Upper Roy Lake Road, and Wooddale Road. What the bond is hoping to do is we'll mill off old pavement, add base where necessary if there's been problems with the base of the road, or in some cases we'll be adding base to increase the load limit of the road. You'll notice that in the springtime, a lot of our roads are posted as 5-ton right now. We've been going up to a 7-ton road with most of the roads that we've been resurfacing, and I think some of these will be getting that same treatment. Following the base correction, they will get a a new surface put down. Some other things that we would be doing with that, we'll be updating any of the signs that are wore out, faded, possibly damaged. If there's any street name signs out there that are still the old blue color, they're being updated to the same ones that the county uses, the green and white. They're a little bit bigger, a little easier to read. And then lastly, the other thing we would be doing, and this will probably be done by city staff at the end of the meeting, or at the end of the project, excuse me, we'll be installing swing away mailbox posts for anybody who doesn't have them. The reason we do that is it helps with plowing and prevents some of the damage to the mailboxes from plow damage. So if you have any questions about that, you can see me after the meeting or give me a call and we'll go through that more. I wanted to give an update on the timing of the meeting. So one of the things that we have that makes the project a little bit more complex is there's some right-of-way issues that need to be cleared up. And so to do that will take a little more time than what we had allowed for. So right now it's looking like what we've been calling a 25 project. We'll still be working on the engineering and the right-of-way acquisition for it during 25, but the actual paving likely won't take place until the summer of 26. Some of the roads won't need that much attention, but there are a couple of them where there's quite a bit of right-of-way issues. And so we're trying to keep these grouped together to get a better cost or get a better bid for the cost of paving the roads. Let's see, what else do I need to say here? There's another road bond that follows this one that would have been scheduled for construction in 26. That one will also likely be pushed back to 27 for similar reasons. I just wanted to make a note of what on the plans that you're going to look at tonight. We consider these to be 30% plans, meaning that they're 30% complete. So they're going to give you an idea of what's being considered. If there's anything a little bit unusual where maybe some of the right-of-way issues are, but nothing is set in stone. These aren't for construction, but they are here to allow you to ask questions and give your input where you might see problems that maybe we weren't aware of. And so we'll take that feedback from you and we'll be making further updates of these. Once there's a plan that we would consider the final set, there'll likely be another meeting like this where you'll get a chance to give your final input before the council approves to go ahead with construction. Some things of interest I would like you to be aware of. A bike trail has been proposed for on Upper Roy Lake Road. That's not set in stone, but it is something we're considering, and there's a variety of reasons we're looking at that. We would like to get your feedback on whether you believe that's a good idea or not, or if there's a type of bike path you would prefer. Right now, what we're considering would be just simply a wider shoulder on both sides. It'll be one-way traffic in each direction. And it's only on Upper Roy that we're considering that at this time. But if somebody here has a roadway you'd like to see a bike path on, it's not being considered, please let us know. Either way is fine. Nothing is set yet, but we would like to get your input on that. Other things like I've kind of alluded to already, there are issues with right-of-way acquisition. Most of the city streets in Nisswa don't have dedicated right-of-way, especially the older ones. They're there by what's called a prescriptive right, meaning they've been there for more than 15 years, and so they maintain a right-of-way by that. When we go to look at right-of-way acquisition, the engineers will show where that right-of-way acquisition is needed, and the city attorney will work on the best way to secure that with the help of the surveyor from Widseth. anyone where we believe we would need to acquire right of way will be contacted directly. You won't hear about it in a meeting like this. You'll be contacted either by phone or mail with the details where we would like to engage you about right of way. Some other things to be aware of as you're looking at this. I think many of you are aware that there's asphalt gutters on a lot of the roads that are out there. For instance, Upper Roy and Edna Lake Road have asphalt gutters on the steep hills. We're looking to add more permanent structures. Most of those asphalt gutters were added as afterthoughts. They were temporary in nature. Temporary in a lot of cases when it comes to roads can be 20 years old. But I think we're looking to do something more permanent to prevent erosion and handle erosion issues and heavy rainfall events better than what they have. So if you see anything on here that you have a question about how we're handling that drainage, please let us know. One last thing to be aware of, there are some minor road realignments. In some cases, it's to eliminate some of the right-of-way issues that I've talked about already. It may also be to improve safety or just simply improves visibility, or in a lot of cases, you might have roads that come together at an angle other than 90 degrees. And in some cases, we're trying to bring them together at a 90 degrees, which is a safety issue. So one last thing, I want to give you an idea of what our future updates will be after this. So some of these right-of-way issues that I'm talking about will be worked through with the city council in a workshop, either in January or February. That's subject to their approval and schedules. So I don't have a date for you yet on that. As I had mentioned earlier, before we go to final acceptance by the council, it might be at the time where they're going to provide their final acceptance. There'll be a second public information meeting like this, where you can see the changes that are made after your comments from tonight. Let's see. There may be other meetings or workshops as things come up with this. If they are, please check the city's website. They'll be posted on there well in advance, and we'll give you an idea of anything that we didn't get a chance to talk about tonight. Should be noted there. Lastly, I put contact information on the last page of the memo I've handed out. Inviting you to stop by City Hall, give me a call, or send me an email if you have specific questions or you'd like more detail. I can try my best to answer that or get it to the right person to answer that. With that, Joe, do you have anything you would like to say before I turn this over to Widseth?
No, I don't think so.
Do you want to go back and improve?
What's that?
Housekeeping.
Oh, yes. Maybe one thing, Joe, we would like to, just a housekeeping thing, approve the minutes from the October meeting before
Sure.
we move into the
Yeah, I'll
presentation.
approve the minutes from last month from October.
We have Cam and Galen are here too.
They are here?
on
Okay.
Zoom.
Second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Galen. Thanks, Galen.
You bet.
Okay. Minutes are accepted. With that, Bill, do you want to
You want me to,
jump in with your presentation on the
Sure.
project?
just sit here or doesn't matter?
Whichever you prefer, if you want to be at the podium or there, whichever works better for you, I guess.
Hello, everyone. My name is Bill Westerberg. I'm with Woodseth, and I'm the primary engineer for the city of Nisswa. Like Tom mentioned, so we're doing the 2025 street improvements. So I put this map up here, kind of shows roughly where they are and listed all the streets. We've estimated the total lineal footage of roadways that we're going to be doing repairs to or reconstruction is 29,300 feet. So it's quite a bit of road. Like Tom mentioned, some of the issues that we looked at when we were doing this was, the big one seems to be drainage for all the roadways. The other thing is that popped its head is, right of way. Oh, gotta turn it on. So those are our biggest issues. I mean, other than, there's always some little things that occur when we're doing the design. We see like, I don't know, signs, utilities, stuff like that, that always will show up also. Like you talked about drainage. One of the big things with drainage that we look at is that we always, when they're designing the roadway or coming up with alignment and a profile, we want to get the water off of the roadway as quickly as possible or prevent it from actually making it to the roadway. Ponding kind of reduces the lifespan of the pavement, especially in bituminous. The water and the bituminous pavement, they don't really go together very well. It can deteriorate the pavement and causes, actually, when the water will actually get into the cracks and then cause structural damage, which will weaken the pavement. And then that's when you see potholes and alligator cracking. One of the things that we've noticed a lot when viewing the streets in Nisswa is that kind of like a bathtub effect. The water seems to drain towards the roadway, along the roadway, and then eventually it will drain off. But this situation we show here, where the red line is the existing roadway, is not the best situation. So that's some of the stuff we're trying to correct. Like Tom mentioned, we're going to try and control the runoff toward and along the paved surface of the roadway the best we can. And the ways to do that are with ditches. We're not going to put in, the ditches are going to be minimal depth, a foot. Like if we get to a place where we need a culvert, then the depth will increase in order to get the pipe under the road to, or under a driveway, in order to maintain roughly a foot of cover over the top of the pipe. And then we're going to add concrete curb and gutter. Tom mentioned the bituminous gutters that were put in. Like I said before, bituminous is not really meant to carry water or transmit it very well. It deteriorates the fines and that surface off of there, and over time it just breaks down. Whereas concrete, you can set the grade a lot flatter and it will control the runoff a lot better, and it'll drain it away much easier. A lot of times when you introduce concrete curb and gutter, you also have to add storm sewer in order to get the water off of the road, out of the gutter, and into a ditch, pond, or someplace. The other thing too is just in a lot of areas, the road is up a little bit higher and the grade kind of slopes away. So we would maintain that. The water would still drain the way it currently is draining right now. And then once we get all those things corrected, then we coming up with the plan or the reconstruction of the roadways. A lot of the roadways, what we're planning to do is, like Tom mentioned, is raise the profile up higher so that the edge of the road is going to be a little bit higher than the edge of the surrounding property, and still match the driveways, match the grade, stuff like that. In a lot of situations, like that picture showed, there's plenty of room to raise the road a little bit. For the most part, most of the roadways are all, they're gonna have a different, they may have a ditch, they may have curb and gutter, or they may slope away. And that's kind of what this picture shows. Like the curb and gutter usually is put in to transmit the water up and down the roadway longitudinally, and also to reduce the amount of, this thing have a pointer? So the, the idea of the curb and gutter is that it minimizes the grading that has to occur behind it if there's a hill coming down. So in this picture here, if we had to build a ditch where that curb and gutter is, we'd be out considerably further than what we're showing right now, based on, look at the other side of the roadway where a ditch is put in. The city kind of wanted a little bit of a boulevard there so that the roadway or the grade doesn't come down to the back of curb for snow storage and a place to put any signs that we needed. Yeah, that table kind of shows the proposed roadway widths for each street. Like I said, that for the most part, we're not really increasing them too much, except for Upper Roy Lake Road, which is the next picture. So the typical section for Upper Roy Lake Road with the bike path is two 12-foot lanes, a 5-foot bike path on both sides. And then in some cases, there's always going to be a shoulder, but in some cases it might be curb and gutter in order to match the grade on either side or to provide drainage. 5 foot is like for a bike path, one way is like the recommended width. It could be decreased to 4, but the recommended width is 5 feet. We talked about right away, and I guess unless people have specific questions, I printed out some stuff from the county. So what we've done for the right of way is on streets where WIDSEF has information regarding right of way or easements or plats that we've done over the years, we've incorporated that into the drawings or into our base mapping. In some areas, we don't have that information. That's what we're talking about the right of way as being possibly a problem or an issue. So we've tried to create a map that kind of shows the existing right of way. In a lot of cases, it's a combination of the county's information and WIDSEF's survey information. So that just kind of like I said, if you look at a lot of the roadways, East Roy Lake Road, for example, there's the property owners on both sides own right up to a property line, which basically goes all the way up to Harbor Drive. So there's not really a dedicated right of way for the roadway. It's more of a prescriptive right type thing. Edna Lake Road, Parkway Lane. Edna Lake Road has right away from, I don't know, the south part going up to Fawn Lake Road. That's very similar to East what is it? East Roy Lake Road. I'm getting confused with all these Roys and Ednas. So then from Edna Lake or from Fawn Lake Road all the way out to 371, there's dedicated right of way, but it varies throughout there. Some places it's wider than others, and that's some of the issues that we're going to have to resolve. Upper Roy Lake Road, that one varies in right of way width, similar to East Roy Lake Road, where there is none, and then in other places there's like 30 feet, 33 feet. And in some places there might be 66, but it jogs in and out all over. Right away, Roy Lane. Similar on that one where at the south end, it's basically the right of way of the property goes up to the, roughly the center of the road. And north of a certain point, there is a dedicated right of way, but it's not 66 feet. So basically, that's it for the presentation. I guess I can go through the roadways one by one. We'll just start with the first one on the list. Pick one. Oh, that's the, so on East Roy Lake Road, what we're, again, it seems like the big issues are, so the width of the roadway is, 24 feet from edge to edge. If there's a curb and gutter, it adds another 1.5 feet to the face of the curb. So what this drawing shows is a ditch along the east side, trying to prevent that water from making it towards the roadway if possible. And that ditch kind of extends along the road. And then flip to the next slide. That's a different, so actually, next slide, go back to East Roy Lake Road, and then there's more than one in there. Similar to here, so you can just see where the ditch roughly ends in order to make the grade work, and the profile. So go to click another. Okay, so then this shows, like Tom mentioned before, in some cases we are trying to improve the geometry or how the roadway's aligned. So you can see right now the gray underneath is what East Roy Lake Road looks like right now when it connects with Harbor Drive and it connects with, what is that called? Birchdale, I think. Birch Ridge. And so what we tried to do here is kind of put in a sweeping curve. It seemed like what we noticed was that most of the traffic and the people live to the west versus the east, and then to the east is a dead end roadway. So the idea here was to kind of make it more of a free flowing roadway and connecting Birchdale or Birch Ridge into East Roy Lake Road. There's another option, which I don't know if.
Quick question there. Are you gonna accommodate still for all the mailboxes and the pullover for all that stuff at that intersection?
Yeah, we were trying to figure out the best place to locate it because it's right exactly where the curve is. Thought is to move it to the south a little bit before the curve.
Yeah, cause that's always kind of a bottleneck right there at that intersection.
Yeah, so if we move it south before the curve, then everybody would get it before they either have to turn to the right or go straight.
Right. Or if you're adjusting the road, can you make that area wider so it's actually like a pull off, like a little park lane?
Yeah, sure. Oops,
A lot of times there can be 2 or 3 vehicles parked there.
okay.
Cause I believe there's roughly what, 30 mailboxes there?
They show up on aerial photography.
Yeah, there's a lot.
So they're for both sides of the road then, because there's not even that many people to the east.
Yeah, it just might be nice for those people there to just be able to pull over and let traffic go by or whatever.
Sure. So this one, very similar concept as the last one, just makes it into a T intersection. East Roy Lake Road comes up to Harbor and Birch Ridge Road that, which kind of intersect. This one would probably end up being more of a three-way stop, I guess. But it's a similar concept, kind of improves the geometry of the intersection. There is right of way in this area right in here, and we tried to fit the roadway within that right of way. There's pieces of it that are kind of outside of it a little bit just because of the trying to make the roadway straight or straighter. Yeah, so those are the two options that we have. I mean, the other option is to just kind of leave it the way it is, but one of these seems to, I prefer the one with the curve in it myself, but. So switch to.
Is one or the other easier to plow snow off of?
Well, I think the continuous one would make it faster for snow plowing. And from my observation, I guess there seems to be more year-round residents going on to Harbor Drive than down Birch Ridge, but I think that's the minor thing here. I think what we're doing is we're lining these up better for safety and visibility.
Right.
So this is Edna Lake Road. This is the one to the north. So the idea here is, so where this is starting off at is probably the most interesting part of the roadway, which is the cul-de-sac, I guess you'd call it, at the far end. So what we're proposing to do is put in, maybe modify this cul-de-sac a little bit so that it's a little bit easier to turn around. Larger vehicles are probably gonna have to use a driveway or something like that to make the turn unless we really expand the grading and the work to the south. There's actually a hill between the roadway and that driveway that kind of goes off to the southwest. So the idea is we're gonna, because there's buildings and there's driveways in there, that black line kind of indicates curb and gutter. So the curb and gutter would help define the roadway, prevent or collect the drainage like we talked about before, and then convey it to a point where we can actually discharge it or treat it or both. And then usually at the driveways, we typically construct a driveway apron and then blend the pavement from the existing pavement into the apron. Then on the south side, most of the water drains away, so the road will be up a little bit and then water will drain to the south off of the roadway.
Question for you, that red circle,
Yeah,
that red circle, if you put cul-de-sac there, is that proposed cul-de-sac size there?
no, I was just putting it in there to give it an idea. I mean, ideally, it would be nice if it was bigger than that. That one is shown right there is 60 feet. I have a feeling the way we're gonna do this is probably just match what's in there right now. It's just gonna be it'll be a little bit tight to turn around in there and it doesn't meet the city guidelines or standards.
Yeah,
for
we have a
cul-de-sac.
road standard for cul-de-sacs. Now, the road standard that we use is mostly for completely brand new construction.
Right.
But where we can, we're trying to match that with existing roadways. For larger vehicles like the garbage trucks, school buses, it's nice if we can have a decent sized cul-de-sac in there. In this particular case, there's not really a lot of room to make a change to accommodate that, so.
School buses turn around there.
Also too, if you put curb and gutter on there, that's gonna even make it more difficult for those vehicles to turn around in a tighter spot, because they're gonna run up against that curb.
Right.
Turn the wheels in my grass.
Right. Yeah,
There's not a whole lot of room from the road to the north, cause the driveways kind of go up and there's buildings right there, so there's not a whole lot of space.
In situations like this, there's always a compromise. It's kind of like Joe says, if you got the curb there, it's hard for people to cheat. If we don't put the curb there, then there's drainage issues. Trying to make enough room for the cul-de-sac isn't possible, so you do the best you can to make some of these things fit.
So basically what this is showing is just to make it clear. So the black line represents the curb, the blue line represents a ditch or swale. So what we did is we looked at the roadway profile that you see there, and we're probably gonna adjust that up a little bit higher where we can. And then, we looked at the cross sections for the roadway and determined that the black line is roughly where the curb and gutter could go to, and the blue line is kind of a ditches and stuff. What we're always trying to do is minimize disruption and maintaining the drainage, and then thinking about, okay, if we put a ditch, where are we gonna outlet that to? And if we put in curb and gutter, that has to drain off someplace too. So that's some of the thought process, I guess. So that's what we did up and down the roadway. So the blue lines, they're probably gonna end up being connected together, but where there's a gap, it's probably from a driveway. The crosshatched area in that one spot on that previous slide, that's wetland delineation. So that's been delineated by Widseth. I think what we'll end up doing is, right now we're showing the 4-to-1 slope from the standards. We're probably gonna decrease that to 3-to-1, and we could probably stay out of the wetland. Again, just kind of showing, and then as we get out towards 371, it seems like the thing to do is to connect onto the curb and gutter that's there now and extend that up to the north, so that we can, again, try and collect that water before it gets, we can control it on the road in the gutter and prevent it from running along the edge of the road. And because the slopes kind of go up along the edge, it helps with the grading too. That's just the same picture as before, but. So that's the idea with Edna Lake Road. This is Edna Lane, and this is coming off of Upper Roy Lake Road to the north. So the idea on this one is again, it's just like a lot of the roadways on the east side of that road. There's an existing bituminous valley, I guess you'd say, and the grade kind of does go up from the roadway up a hill. So another one of those instances where replacing that valley with curb and gutter basically on the east side, and then figuring out how to drain that water, collect it and discharge it basically down near that cul-de-sac. That's what our proposed plan is. And then on the west side, the water will just kind of drain off and away. There's a couple of areas where we would probably add a ditch or something like that to like keep the water draining along the roadway, so that it can be discharged appropriately. There is a cul-de-sac at the end of this road that has that dirt in the middle. I don't know if we want to, do we keep that, or, I mean, if people are driving around and it's not a problem, but.
Right now, it's not a bother for maintenance or anything. I had no plans of removing it, I guess.
Okay. 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 I just, usually it's like in an island, so it's kind of a raised thing. And I was actually, we drove over it and I'm like, I think we're driving on top of the. So, yeah, so our plan is to maintain that. And our survey crew was out there. We surveyed all these roads, and he may have talked to you. And he relayed to me about some of the drainage issues coming around there, and I think, yep. And I think I believe we can resolve that, or at least figure out a good solution. Whatever the next one is. Oh. Hole in the Day Drive. The idea with Hole in the Day Drive is that, well, let's talk about the right of way a little bit. So the right of way on this one is MinDOT. MinDOT and the city of Nisswa own to the west side of Hole in the Day Drive. Nisswa does own a portion of that, but it's not 100% clear as to what they own and where MinDOT starts and Nisswa owns. Because on their MinDOT's corridor study, they show that as all being theirs, but I don't know if that's totally true. MinDOT has proposal for Hole in the Day Drive to extend around, or basically like a frontage road further south. So we're probably gonna be in contact with them to talk about, you know, how that connection occurs right there where the curve goes in. So the idea with, gotta find my notes here. Hole in the Day Drive is that, on the east side, basically the water just kind of drains off the road down the slope towards the MinDOT ditch along 371. And we're not really gonna change that concept. So on the west side, we're going to be adding curb and gutter and ditches to collect the water and convey it along the roadway. And then possibly using storm sewer directed towards the Trunk Highway 371 ditch. The MinDOT's usual plan is that they don't really like an increase in discharge, but in a way, we're not really doing that. If we are, then we can try and pond some of it or store it before we discharge it into their ditch. So from the south to about the first, 1,000 feet, we're gonna put curb and gutter in there. There's a low point for about 200 feet where where the water kind of goes to now or drains to now. So that would be where we're gonna continue to kind of pond the water there. And then again, the curb starts up again and then runs another 800 feet or more to the north where again, the curb would end. The water the road is up a little bit higher and the water sheds off on both sides. And then as you get towards Polk's Road, the roadway width will increase from 22 or 24 feet to 32 feet as it goes and connects into 371. And that would be, again, a rural section of the road. Is up pretty high and it'll just slope off on both sides. Candor Court. This one we have right-of-way information on, but the plan is we're going to keep the roadway where it is now. Just can't remember if we're widening this one or not, but basically keep the roadway where it is and maybe adjust the profile a little bit to get the drainage to work better so that it's not sitting right along the edge of the road, and then add some ditches along add some ditches along the roadway in order to convey it to the low point. We might have to add some driveway culverts underneath the road, keep the cul-de-sac the way it is. That water tends to drain to the southwest, I guess. Yeah, I mean, of all the roads, this one, again, we're in the right of way. The cul-de-sac is a little bit smaller than the city standard, but it would stick out a little bit out of the right of way here. Old Government Trail. This one is a little bit different than some of the other ones. The property to the east is kind of like a common area, basically owned by the people on the west side. And so what we're gonna do is the roadway drainage seems to be from west to east. So we're gonna tip the roadway so that it continues to drain across the road and then into a swale along the east side of the road, and then have that discharge into, there's a low area over by Polk's Road, into that area. And then just maintain that, I don't know, you call it like a hammerhead at the end.
Yes.
Just pave that out.
Mhm.
I mean, we try to fit that in on some of the other roads too, but it's that hard. So this is Polk's Road. This one has right of way on it, but the road isn't really centered in the right of way that's there. So we might have to acquire right of way in order to build the roadway and do some of the grading. So that's another one of the right of way issues that we have to talk about. The idea with this roadway is that we're going to end up putting in, again, curb and gutter. A lot of the roadway slopes to the north or to the south. There's an area where the Polk's Road kind of carves through the top of a hill. That's where we're gonna put in curb and gutter. That's basically the definition of that picture I showed earlier with the water draining straight down to the edge of the road and draining along the edge of the road. So Polk's Road will have curb and gutter for a portion up near the top of the hill. And then there might be some ditches along there, but it's not really that bad. And then it connects in with Hole in the Day Road. We're looking at, that intersection a little bit and see if there's something that needs to be done there to modify it a little bit, but nothing major. Just because right now it's kind of a sea of pavement and doesn't really align with Hole in the Day Road very well as far as traffic going from north to south or south to north. Sumac Trail. So this one, it's like we have right away for this one. This is an existing gravel road. We're gonna move the road to the center of the right of way and then construct. There's not gonna be any curb and gutter on this one, but we'll construct ditches in order to convey the water. And then a lot of the water is gonna kind of empty out right in the middle there, just to the right of those red names. And then the rest of it will end up going down and discharging into the county ditch. Yeah, as far as, so again, we'll end up raising the road, raising the profile, regrading it so that we get the water drain away, keep the ditch profile, and yeah, trying to keep the water off the road. Oh, this is Upper Roy Lake Road. So this is this is the south end, or no, not the south end, the west end. So there's a kind of a hill at that red line dictator kind of shows where the curb and gutter would go. So the idea is to kind of maybe define that radius a little bit better, and this will allow us to match that the grading or the hill in that corner. And then there'll be a ditch along the south side of the roadway that would extend to the east. There's a kind of a low area about, I don't know, 500 feet to the east that it would outlet into. There's actually a wetland complex up in that area too. And then so for the most part by the wetland complex, the water sheds off of the roadway down the hill on both sides. Up, yeah, right in there where the two red lines are, curb and gutter. So we'd end up putting in, that water, it would collect, again, just like before. Usually when there's curb and gutter, that means that the grade on either side of it is high. And that seemed to be the best solution short of putting in a ditch, and then we'd have to cut back the hill in order to make it work. Again, more ditches. Again, some curb and gutter on as you keep moving south. So that's the whole concept is you're gonna have curb and gutter and ditches in order to, convey the runoff. This is out at 371. It's a very, like I said before, the right of way in here is very, varies, I guess would be a good word. Sure.
Thinking about putting a bike trail on that,
Yes.
what's gonna happen when you run into Cass County?
So, when it gets to Cass County, that would be Lake Shores, right of way. If there's gonna be a bike path that continues, that way, Lake Shore would design it and build it. So what? Yeah. So one thing to keep in mind with the bike path is it's a very long range plan, and this is just a piece of what ultimately would like, some of the folks in town would like to have built. The idea is that, the trail would come along, Upper Roy Lake Road, continue to hit Highway 29, then it would follow 29 back, and then it would make a loop back to the Paul Bunyan. Right now, one of the reasons we're looking at Upper Roy Lake Road for the bike path is we need a crossover for all the folks that live on, that's on the, Edna Lake Road side and the Upper Roy Lake Road side. And we want to put that in the safest place possible. So when you look at, for instance, Edna Lake Road, it's on a curve, it's close to 29, there's a lot of things going on there. So the safer spot for a crossing, we feel, is at Upper Roy. So by putting the starting, of that bike path on Upper Roy Lake Road, which is what we're suggesting, when MinDOT comes through with their next project, whenever that is, they would then likely either, help us build the crossing or build it for us at that time. And so that it has a lot of reasons to build it now. And it also makes just Upper Roy Lake Road safer for bicycle traffic. There's quite a few hills and curves and stuff in there. Folks, I think, do use it that way. And when I call it a bike path, it's not just bikes, it's for walkers, snowmobiles in the winter, probably, golf carts. You know,
It seems that it would be a lot tougher on the Cass County part of the lake.
I think you're probably right. We haven't really, at least in this committee, we haven't looked at that, so the trails is more handled with the Parks and Trails Department, and so the only reason we're looking at it here is because we're reconstructing the road. And so, you know, if you're familiar with the new part of the trail that was built on Lower Roy Lake Road, we didn't reconstruct the road at this time. The bike path was added. In this case, we're doing it all as one piece. It, provides some construction efficiency. If we so choose to add that path. The Parks Department and their committee have looked at, the city of Nisswa from north to south, and they've, given us what they feel are the logical places they'd like to see bike paths added. And so this is one spot. Some other ones, eventually they're gonna probably add, a bike path on Church Street and possibly on Poplar. There's a few others, and, unfortunately, Amber Peterson, our Parks Director, was planning to be at this meeting tonight, and she could have answered this question a little better for you than what I'm doing. But, really the best way to think of this trail on, Upper Roy is you know, it probably will take 20 years or more to get the loop built. A lot of this is, you know, that's one thing with roads is the timelines we deal with are very long. So one thing I didn't mention at the beginning of this, one of the reasons we're looking at the drainage and we're looking at the condition of the base is we're trying to make all the roads as we reconstruct them fit a 30-year repavement cycle. So what we're looking at is we're trying to get all the roads so that every 30 years or approximately every 30 years, the city is able to come in and repave them. So we're making investments in some of the things that you're seeing, such as the curb and gutter and whatnot, to help them last longer. If you looked at some places on, for instance, on Edna Lake Road, you'll see that there's spots where the pavement is only this thick. And so it's busting up. And there's been other places like that through town, but we're gonna consistently have 3-inch pavement thickness when this is all said and done. And so obviously we can't afford to do everything all at once. So we're picking off chunks of these roads about every 7 years. And so this bond is, the way we're deciding which roads primarily go on here are the oldest roads are getting done first. So.
Oh, something I forgot to mention is on East Roy Lake Road, because of the trucks and all that seem to drive on that roadway. We've increased the pavement section slightly to accommodate what we kind of estimated to be the truck traffic. So we went to add another 1/2 inches of bit and 3 more inches of aggregate base. Just to account for that. Wooddale Road. Wooddale Road is, again, the right of way on this one is very similar to the other ones where the road is owned up to the center of the roadway pretty much the whole way. Again, it's that prescriptive rights thing that allows the roadway and the utilities to be in here. There's sanitary sewer down the center of the road. And yeah, so the idea here is similar to all the other streets is try to get the roadway to be at the right elevation to maintain the drainage and to convey the water in some direction. So you can flip to the next one. Sure.
Is it just a road resurfacing?
Well, no, we're gonna end up milling off the pavement on all these roadways. The existing pavement would be removed. We'd probably regrade it to the subgrade elevation or the bottom of the class 5, then add class 5, and then the pavement section. So there is gonna be some grading initially. No. This project ends about 1,200 feet from Laurel Street, so it doesn't even get to the gravel portion. It stops right there.
Yeah, unfortunately with this, somewhere back in time before any of us that work for the city currently, they never built a cul-de-sac or any kind of a turnaround and they didn't go all the way down. So it's.
Oh, Lindy Drive. So the idea with this one is we're gonna maintain the call it a loop, I guess, around the trees in the middle of the loop. And then the roadway width is, I believe it's 21 feet around there, so we're gonna maintain that. And so it basically becomes a road, a loop road, I guess, not really a cul-de-sac because of the trees. Again, we're gonna minimize I think we can minimize the grading and the tree removal in that loop area, inside the loop. So we're gonna match the grades to the on the south side of the roadway, add ditches around on the, I guess it'd be east of Sumac Trail. On the other side, the drainage tends to be, the road's up high enough where the water will go either to the north or to the south, depending on what side of the road you're on. Here, what we're gonna do is, in order to prevent, we're gonna create like a asymmetrical cul-de-sac where it would go to the north more instead of in the middle of the roadway. That way then we can connect it into the driveways there better. And then if we have to acquire right away, we're acquiring it from the property to the north. Which, no reason, it just seemed like the property in, pardon? Oh. Like where that loop is? Yeah, that's where that cul-de-sac is, or the asymmet, we go to the next one,
Yep, right there.
right there. So that's the east, that's east of Sumac. Yeah. To turn around, it's only, what we're showing is 60-foot diameter. So it's, again, it's not,
Yeah, right now, if you're familiar with it, in the spring, that thing turns into a mud pit down there. So we're hoping to fix that. We've added gravel over the years, but I think this will be a better fix. As you know, going off the edge of that cul-de-sac that you see there, there's a pretty steep grade. And so
Expand that to the north, so it's not that great.
that I think would be the idea, yeah.
then the ditches basically are gonna discharge to the east. Probably go underneath that driveway. Right there with the culvert. It'll probably be better now, when we're done, the water should just be in the ditch. So the next one. Roy Lane. So this one comes off of Upper Roy Lake Road. We're just basically gonna maintain the way it is right now. It seems like the drainage in the roadway doesn't really need a whole lot of grading as far as like ditches and stuff, minimal. And then until you get up to the north, where there's some possible issues with kind of where we need curb and gutter, right in this area, right in here, where it's a little bit steeper right there. In order to get the water to drain across that guy's driveway to the north. But for the most part, if anything is gonna occur on the north side of the road, or no, that'd be the west side of the road, it would be put in some ditches and swells in order to convey the water. One thing we did notice when we were out there is a lot of people park their equipment, boat lifts, trailers on that side over there, so yeah, that putting curb and gutter in there might create some problems for them unless we put in some type of a surmountable or something like that. But right here where we're showing it, it's a steeper hill, nobody parks right there. Again, there's wetland, that gray piece right there is a wetland. And again, I think we're gonna stay out of that. Oh, the right of way on Roy Lane is very similar to all the other ones where there's a portion of it where it's up to the center of the right of way or center of the roadway roughly. And then in other areas where there's a designated right of way in there. I don't know of any road other than maybe Sumac Trail might be the only road where right of way is not really an issue. Oh, yeah, we haven't got to that yet. I don't know, whatever one we got. Oh, we do? Yeah, that's it.
Question, we walked in a couple minutes late. They quit. A little confused on the time periods on there. So are we wait until 26 or 27 to start these projects, or what's?
What you saw here tonight would likely be paved in 26, and the reason for that is all the right-of-way issues that we were just going through. All of those have to be worked out legally, and so the city council has to decide how many of the right-of-way issues they want to correct. And so we're going to be having a workshop somewhere in January or February with the city attorney and the surveyor from Widseth to determine where we need to pick up right-of-way more detailed and give them a cost estimate so that they can decide how the best way for us to clean up the right-of-way issues that we have. You know, we want to have a consistent width throughout. Typical in this, with a city street is 66 feet.
And it's probably not your decision, I understand that, but I just talked to the mayor maybe 2 months ago, and he said, it will be done on your road, that Lake Road will be done.
Well, that was the intention up to about a week ago, and then the city attorney made it clear to us that he could not get all of the right-of-way issues cleared up in time for construction in 25. So with that, we've had to readjust and push the construction phase of this project back to allow for that to happen. Yeah, so as I alluded to earlier in the meeting, I'm not sure if you were here at the beginning. Once we get some of your feedback on any of the changes that we're proposing, if there's things that need to change, we're going to be getting at least one more set of plans before we would look to the council to approve a project. Once we have that set of plans, or if there's an updated set of plans where there's significant changes, we will schedule another information meeting like this before the council approves anything. And you'll get your chance to see what's changing, voice your opinion again. And hopefully by then we're pretty close. The hardest part with the right of way is you start dealing with a lot of individuals. Well, most folks probably understand why we want to do what we want to do, and we can horse trade back and forth and make the right of way issues go away. There's always a few that are not the people, but the situation is more difficult. And so it takes some negotiation back and forth to get a clear agreement made. And that's why the attorney wanted us to push this back. If I could make this happen in 25, I would. But this is kind of the nature of road projects. In any large municipal project, there's a lot of people who have a lot to say about what gets done and when it gets done. And so we do our best to keep it on schedule. We've been internally as staff working on this 25 road bond since we did the last road project back in 2018. So it does take a lot of time. There's a lot of approvals that have to happen. For instance, just the surveying work that Widseth has done had to be approved by the city council before it could happen. So sometimes you don't know what you don't know until they do some of that preliminary work. And so wrinkles start to come out, and we work through it, and we try to be as upfront and honest with you as we can. And that includes why I've brought this up as soon as I knew that this project was going to get delayed a year. I'd say barring some unforeseen thing, the roads that are listed here should have new pavement by the summer of 26.
Then Sumac Trail, it's already right away, did that go through there?
No, so we grouped these roads together in a large enough project so that there's interest with the larger contractors that do this work. You know, you're all probably familiar with Anderson Brothers. We get a better price if we're able to group them together. And so we're going to try to keep these together. unless there's some changes of opinion among the council or something, but right now I don't see any emergencies among these as far as being paved. I know if you live on the gravel roads, you want it paved yesterday. I've, when we built the cul-de-sac on Lendee, I've several folks that live down there been in contact with me over the years about that, and we've tried to improve it as best we could until we knew it was gonna get paved. I'm just glad that we're gonna get that done.
He has it right away. So is there something different going to be done where we cross one property into another?
Only if it impacts the roadway itself. If there's two driveways that are shared currently, that becomes a civil matter between you and your neighbor. When the project comes through, if whoever the winning contractor is that gets the bid, you and your neighbor could negotiate with them directly to perform whatever needs to happen with your driveways to make it separate. That wouldn't be, the city won't be paying for that.
Yeah, we noted on here that the driveway to the east is into the property on the west. It's deep further to the east. Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else have any general questions before we open up for, have you walk around and look at the maps that, pertain to you? All right, I would invite everybody to have a look if you want, stay if you want, or you can leave if you need to. And if you have any further questions, just, grab Bill or myself, or Councilman Hall, and we'll, do what we can to answer it for you.
Thank you.
Maybe one thing, just to kind of make it easier for us to end the meeting, Joe, do you want to call for, an adjournment?
I make motion to adjourn.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you, Joe. Those green lines, was that the ditches? They're way off the road, aren't they?
Yeah, right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it doesn't show it on here,
here.
but that was on there, yeah. So the idea is that if it's a foot at 4 to 1.